What's going on, people? I'm super excited to announce that I've just released my latest drum and bass track called Never Enough. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming platforms, and I thought for a cool video idea I could break down the track. So here's the whole song. I guess I'll start off in the intro. I always start off with a bit of ambient noise just to sort of get sometimes the key and the sort of mood. Didn't really have any sort of plan when I started this. To be honest, I just had this one snare that I wanted to use, and that sort of was the only beginning that I had going into this song. But starting off with this ambience. Just something to sort of set the tone. I then had this, I guess it's a hi-hat pattern. Shout out Moonboy. I bought his pack a long time ago and he's helped me out heaps with his YouTube videos on like just beginning in the drum and bass world, like just learning what basses are called and things like that to help me, look for maybe tutorials on YouTube or certain songs you want to get inspired by. And I found it really useful to sort of just learn the terminology of words that we use in drum and bass. So I've got this drum pack from Moonboy, and I'm pretty sure in the effects it's actually an ambience. So I've just chucked that in and reversed it and sort of used that as the intro build up in the song. Next, we've got this little pluck. Starts off super quiet. I've got this low pass filter on it that slowly turns off as the song goes on. So in the intro, I had it drop down an octave. So when the drums come in and it goes up an octave, it just hits a bit harder. Next, I've got these horns, which is really just a tease to the drop because that's one of the instruments I use in the drop. I'll chuck a certain part of the melody in the drop, put it in the intro, chuck it down an octave, put a filter on it or something like that, just to tease it a bit. Also with that replay value, if someone listens to the song again in the intro, they're almost reminded of the drop. Next, we've got just this riser. That's pretty much it, basically. That's the whole intro, apart from this little drum fill, which I just chucked before the drums come in, so it's not too unexpected. And then we've got the drums. I've got the exact same drums in the intro than the drop. The only thing is I sort of wanted to, when it drops, I wanted to sort of let it brighten up a lot more. So I'll put a filter on the kick as well, just so it didn't punch to its full potential, which it does in the drop. The snare is a different pattern and it's also down a couple of notes. Even the hi-hats or the little sort of open hat I've got on each beat is down a couple of semitones. Keep the ambience playing all the way through. And then my thought process when I do a build up is to pretty much progressively add more and more instruments to make it as full as possible so that when it drops, usually leaves some sort of little break before the drop and then it just slaps a bit harder.
Never enough.
So I got this vocal, obviously.
Never enough.
It's just a vocal that I got off Splice. Let's go something like.
Needed I had, but it wasn't enough for you.
I mean, it was a beautiful vocal and I was trying at the beginning stages to sort of incorporate it into the song as like a hook or something like that. But then as the beat progressed and I made this drop, I realized it was very bass heavy and it sort of didn't really need vocals. And even in the build up, I couldn't really make it work. So I ended up just getting that little bit that I loved.
It was never enough.
And then, just played it a few times throughout the song. Got this beat break that I also just got from the Moonboy pack. Cut some of the lows out of it. And then got this other break right before the drop just to get some more bass involved before it drops. And now we have the drop.
Never enough.
So not a whole lot going on. Starts off with this foghorn that I only really put in this position for the first drop, and then it becomes part of the pattern as it goes on. And I put this filter on it. Got the vocal, of course.
Never enough.
Got the drums, which are now in their optimal volumes and frequencies and whatnot. The bass starts off with this foghorn, and then we have got another foghorn here on the one. Second noise is the horns, which is just the root note of the song, F sharp, and I've duplicated it and put it down an octave as well and just turned that one down a bit. Obviously the drop is very bass heavy, and when the horns are playing, it sort of became a bit of a breath for the drop, I suppose. So I took a lot of the low end out, and then I've put a sub bass behind it. And then the next one is this bass here. It's just a bass that I've made in Vital. Very simple. Then the horns come back in. And then we have this bass. Then we have this bass, which I also made in Vital. Some harsh distortion at the start of it, and then descends over time. Sample on it, grinder I just used, a few basic shapes, a couple octave changes. It's pretty simple, really. So I just have that playing throughout the song, different notes, and that's the bass side of the drop. And yeah, got the vocal little chop there. And then just to switch it up, it doesn't get too repetitive. Back into the pre-drop, a little bit of a breather. Now the second drop. A little bit, couple changes I made to the drop here. So this horn, I just duplicated it, chucked it up a few semitones. And then that first bass I made, just put 3 basses. They're all Bs, but I've just chucked them up an octave each time, just so it sort of comes down. And then obviously change the horn pattern. And then bring the sub bass in. And then after the first part section of the second drop, I bring the first drop back in, take the drums out again, and then the only change that I make is bringing this last bass all the way up here, which is like quite different to what I guess the listener would have been used to listening to the song up to this point. So it kind of switches up real nice. And then the third drop is literally it's almost like the song evolves over time. Things get changed, different pitches, different patterns of the melody. Last drop, I basically just back to back switched up the drop as to what you've already heard throughout the song. And that's it. Never Enough, out on all streaming platforms. Go check it out on Spotify. I'd appreciate it a lot. Check out some of my other music, and give the video a like and a subscribe. But yeah, cheers for watching.